I have done this intro twice, and each one of them ended up really negative. So I'm trying to not be negative. But hi guys, I'm Kat, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to a new year, even though I know that we're like 2 weeks into January, and I haven't made a video, I think, in maybe 2 months. I don't know, I can't remember. It's been so hard to take the time to sit and make a video, especially with how my mental state has been. I don't like making myself do something if I don't feel like it, especially if I'm depressed, so I usually just don't. But here I am making this video because it's something that I'm excited to make, it says a lot that I'm excited to actually sit down and do this, because it's just lately, it's been really hard. But anyway, I don't want to get any more negative than that, but I'm alive and I'm healthy, as for the most part, and that's more than a lot of people can ask for. So I have been watching these videos on Teen Vogue of people compiling their playlist of their lives, where basically celebrities and influencers and other people will compile a list of their favorite songs that kind of represent their life. And I thought it'd be really fun to do something like that. Although I do want to do a music playlist of my life, I decided I wanted to switch it up a little bit and instead do a movie playlist of my life and compile a list of movies that have really helped sculpt my life, and movies that I can watch over and over again and not get bored of. So today I'm going to do that. I did make like this stupid thing that, like, because on there they write them down or do a digital thing. I did do that and I ended up hating it. So instead I'm just going to say my favorite movies, and then I'll probably just do a pop-up of the picture of the movie and stuff. So yeah, so let's get started with that. Alrighty, so the first movie on my movie playlist of my life, or the movie playlist of my life, I still haven't decided what it is. But anyway, the first movie is Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is definitely one of the movies that I am very much emotionally attached to, because it was literally a series of movies that saved me from a really difficult time in my life. So okay, I'll try to make this story very short. It's really hard. So when I was 15 or 16, my friends and I were playing this game, and it's usually a drinking game, but we decided to do it with energy drinks and sugar. So, you know, this is going to go really well. And at the time, of course, when you're a teenager, you're trying to show off for your friends, and I ended up drinking 3 of the big monsters with the twist top in about an hour and a half, thinking, you know, I'm 15 or 16, I'm invincible, blah, blah, blah. A couple hours into the night, my left arm starts to go numb, and followed by my throat, my mouth, and the rest of my left side, which is usually a great indicator of a heart attack. I genuinely thought that I was going to die that night, because I genuinely thought I was going to die. Like, that is probably the closest, one of the times that I've been close to death, and that is what triggered my anxiety and my panic attacks. So not too long after that, for about 2.5 years of my life, I kept having panic attacks all of the time. It didn't matter what happened. I'd go outside, I'd have a panic attack. I'd wake up with a panic attack. I would go to sleep having a panic attack. I dream about having panic attacks. And so, hey, stop it. And so I would just have panic attacks all of the time. I couldn't go outside. I couldn't hang out with friends. There was one time I did try to go on a camping trip with my friends, and their parents had to bring me home because I couldn't do it. So it was really, really, really bad. And so one of the ways my mom tried to help me deal with my panic attacks was watching The Lord of the Rings, because I already loved it so much, and it was already so relaxing anyway, that she wanted to help me find a way to do that. So whenever I'd feel anxiety or start to feel panicky, she'd turn it on. I'd go to sleep to it every single night. I'd listen to the soundtrack all of the time, just so that I could relax. And so I wouldn't wake up having panic attacks or get triggered by panic attacks. There was one night, though, while we were watching it, I did start to have a panic attack, and I went to the bathroom, and this was the one time I asked her to take me to the emergency room, because I genuinely thought I was going to die. For anybody who's never had a panic attack, long story short, it feels like you're dying, literally. You feel like you're having a heart attack, and it makes you panic more because you think you're dying, and it's really hard to get out of those woods. Ever since that time with that caffeine, I have PTSD, and I can't drink anything that maybe has more than maybe 100 milligrams of caffeine, because if I do, my anxiety makes me think I'm gonna die. Even though logically, I know I'm not going to die, if I drink anything, even if I take one drink of a Monster, my brain automatically thinks, don't drink that, it's gonna kill you. So it's super fun. I can drink coffee, and I can drink a lot of coffee, but anything else that has too much caffeine in it, I can't drink it. So Lord of the Rings is really important to me, because if I start to feel anxious, or if I'm having a bad week, I know that if I turn it on and listen to it, it'll make me feel better. So that's why it's number 1. I know I said long story short, try to make this short and sweet, but number 2 on my movie playlist is Scream. So Scream is my favorite horror movie of all time. I love all 4 of the movies, but Scream is definitely my favorite horror movie. I have a movie poster, and I have a Jiffy Pop, like the popcorn that Drew Barrymore's popping in the beginning of the movie, but it has, instead of it saying Jiffy Pop, it has the Scream poster on top of it that I got from Etsy, and I love it so much. I am never going to pop that popcorn, ever, which is probably kind of gross, but you know what, whatever. Scream is my favorite horror movie because, of course, I think movies that have demons and monsters and ghosts are scary, but something about a serial killer is more terrifying, because humans are the scariest thing on this planet. Every single awful weapon or invention or story were created by the human mind. So, to me, that's terrifying. And so, a movie about 2 teenagers that are basically crazy, killing people just because they're mad at someone, is scary to me. Like, of course, now Scream is not scary. It's really hard for me to find a horror movie that scares me. It happens, but it's hard. But usually the movies that get to me in my soul and my heart are people. They're movies about people. But just a movie about some kids stabbing each other and taking revenge, it's so real, because that has happened before, it'll continue to happen, and so I really love it, and I love the acting, I love the characters, I love the story. There's comedy, there's love, there's sadness, there's gore, but not too much gore. I like a little bit of gore, but I don't like too much gore, unless like body gore, where it's like practical effect gore, different. But I don't like when it's just like too much blood and guts, because it takes away from the movie, and so I like that this is some blood and guts, but not too much. I am apprehensive about Scream 5, because I feel like they're kicking a dead horse. I feel like they started kicking a dead horse at number 3, but I am excited because it's Scream, and I love Scream, so I'm up for it. I'm down to go, well, maybe, safely go to a theater really late at night when no one is there to see it. Because the theater in my area, I've gone to the movies a couple of times by myself, and every single time I'm in the theater by myself, because I go really late, because I don't want to go if there's people going, just to be safe. But, you know, I'm really excited about that. But definitely when someone asks me, what's your favorite scary movie, I tell them it's Scream. Number 3 is Resident Evil, the first one, and maybe Resident Evil Apocalypse together. Resident Evil, even though it does not follow the video game basically at all, because, fun fact, Alice is not part of Resident Evil. They just added her in because it's interesting to have someone who could, like, meld or bond or whatever with the T-virus, but she doesn't exist. I really do wish that they would have made a live-action movie with Jill and Claire and all of them, and maybe they will in the future. But a lot of the reason Resident Evil is is definitely on this list is because the Resident Evil video games are really close to my heart, because it's one of the very first video games that my sister, my dad, and my cousins and I really bonded with and really got close to. It's something, and continues to be, a game that we all continually love. And so when we found out that there was going to be a movie, we were all really excited. I remember Resident Evil, it did scare me when I was younger. I kept having nightmares about zombies. And then what's interesting about Resident Evil Apocalypse is there was like a good period of my life when I was younger that I could only go to sleep to that movie. So that doesn't tell you how screwed up I am. But it has an emotional place in my heart because it was just something that like me, my sister, and my cousins bonded on, and me and my dad too, for the first time. And so watching this movie with like Jill Valentine and zombies and just all this stuff is really, really cool. And I'm a huge zombie movie fan, so there's that. But it's really, if you were to watch it and apart from Resident Evil, it is a good action movie. It's not like the best action movie, but it's a pretty decent action movie. And a lot of the reason I watched so after maybe the third Resident Evil movie, it's kind of questionable. But when you're someone who's a fan of Resident Evil and kind of loyal to it, you still watch it because it's Resident Evil. But I am glad that they did stop making the movies. I'm glad that they stopped, because if they kept going in the same direction, because I feel like if they make more live action movies, but in a different vein, kind of like how the games are going, that would be really cool. I just really hope that they start to follow the games more, because I think like a game based on Jill, or a movie based on Jill Valentine would be really cool, because Jill Valentine was the very first female leading role in an action horror game. She was the very first, and so she helped pave the way for a lot of other action heroes that were female in horror games. And so I think that's really cool, and I think that would be awesome to make a live action movie for. Same thing with Claire, Leon, and just a lot of other characters. It'd be really, really cool to see that. So I do hope in the future that they do that. But definitely Resident Evil has definitely been a huge part of my life. Not just the movies, but the games, the books, a lot of stuff. And that's also, just like Scream, one of those movies where I have to watch every single one. If I start watching the first one, I have to finish with all of them, because once you start, you gotta finish. Number 4 is a movie called Dungeons and Dragons. I think it's a movie that's trying to be based off of the Dungeons and Dragons game, but not, maybe very loosely, because like of course it does have dragons in it, but Dungeons and Dragons, the game, is such a wide horizon of everything. It's endless. The stories you can create and the characters you can create are just endless, and it's this huge, beautiful mastery of art. And not that this movie isn't, but it's definitely not the scale. But it sticks out to me because I remember watching it, sitting in my living room. A lot of these movies were with my sister, and just watching it and loving it so much, and loving the characters, and having a crush on the lead character, and hating the mage in it because she was kind of a bitch, and just like, you know, it's almost kind of like a coming of age movie, and it's a love story, and it's a comedy, and it breaks your heart, but it's oh so cheesy, so cheesy, but I enjoy watching it every single time. When I found it, I had to buy it. It's one of those movies, for me at least, where you find it on the shelves and you buy it because it is so good for your soul, if that makes any sense. It definitely is for me, because it's a movie that sticks. Like, if someone were to tell me, you know, ask me, just like right now, how I'm listing the movies that really have helped me build my life, that's definitely one of them. That's definitely one of the movies that has been a huge part of my life. Which is weird when you say that a movie can be a huge part of your life, but it actually truly is. Because every time I watch it, it just brings me back to when I was a kid. I lost track of numbers, but I think I'm on number 5, I think. And number 5 is called Rose Red by Stephen King. Now, this technically isn't a movie. It was technically a web series, but was compiled on 2 DVDs. But when I was a kid, this wasn't on DVD. This was on VHS. And you would literally have to, and it was 2 tapes. So you would have to watch the first tape and then take it out and watch and put in the second tape. And it always sucked when you wanted to watch the second half of the movie, but you'd have to sit for like 5 minutes until it rewound. And so I would always, like, after the first tape, I would rewind the first tape and then watch the second tape and then rewind it, so that way if I wanted to watch it again, it would be like where I wanted it to be. What's really nice is, I actually have it, I grabbed a couple of the movies I wanted to talk about so I wouldn't forget, but now it's in DVD form, so it's 2 discs, so it comes like with 2 discs. The first one is in my PlayStation right now. This is the second disc. I love this movie because, one, the nostalgia of sitting on my living room floor with my TV that had a built-in VHS and putting the tape in and watching it and it being full screen and fuzzy, and like I remember if like there was a nick in the film, it would get all weird and stuff like that, and then having to take it out and put the second tape in is such a fun nostalgic thing that I kind of miss. That act. I think that's why I like DVDs, because a lot of people have like, why don't you watch it digitally? Why don't you have it digitally? And it's like, because there's something special when you've grown up having to take the disc out, put it in, press play from the console, and not so just simply touch your screen and press play. But also, it's by Stephen King, so obviously it's gonna be good. And it's such a good story. So basically what it's about a woman. She's a psychologist. And there's this house called Rose Red. And it's a house that's basically alive with ghosts. And she compiles a group of people who have special gifts, psychic gifts, to go and wake the house up. Because she wants to prove that the paranormal exists. And of course, a bunch of crazy shit goes down. The beginning of the movie is really, really just kind of slow, but not in a bad way. Just really story building and gets a little creepy, but the second half is when it gets a little creepy. And what's interesting is, even when I watch this now, as a 26-year-old person, there are moments that actually creep me out, just a little. There's some moments where it's like, what the hell is that? That's so dumb. But then there's some moments where like the suspense and the music get to you. And I think movies like that, where even if it's older, but it's still, the suspense gets to you, it's so good. And I really love this movie. This is definitely a movie that has been one of those movies where you forget about, and then when you remember it, you're like, holy shit. And I can't remember the first time I ever watched this and who I watched it with, but I do remember just like the feeling I get when I watch it, and it's joy, and also I love scary movies, so it's a win-win. Number 6 is a movie that is going to be surprising because of what it's called, but it's called Jesus Christ Superstar. So this is a musical based on the story of Jesus. The reason it's surprising is because I'm not a religious person. I'm actually, I would say I'm more pagan than anything else. But I'm not really religious. And so the fact that I love this movie says a lot, because it's a beautiful story. It's beautifully told in a very fun musical way. The music in it is amazing. The singers are amazing. And it's a really good movie. A lot of people, when they, it's like a mixed bag of reactions to it. Either a lot of people love it, or a lot of people think it's sacrilegious.
But it is such a good movie. If you love musicals, and if you're religious, or even if you're not religious, I would check it out, because it's actually a very good movie. The reason I'm looking down is because I'm looking at it. This is what it is. And it's a beautiful movie with amazing actors and amazing singers, and the music alone really makes the movie, because it makes you understand in a way that talking could never make you understand. And that's the beauty about music, is music can help you understand and hear things in a way that words spoken never could. And this is great. This is a great way of showing that. And it's a beautiful way to tell the story of Jesus Christ. So if you're someone who likes religious movies, or if you're like me who more is not religious, it's still very good. It's still a really, really good movie. And I remember watching it with my mom. This is actually one of my mom's favorite movies, and I remember she showed it to me, and I remember I was apprehensive because, again, not religious. Like, why would I want to sit and watch a Jesus movie if I'm not religious? But after watching it, it's one of those movies that I'm really happy to watch, and really happy that I own, and really glad that I know the songs that are in the movie, because if you don't want to watch the movie, I would at least look up the music, because it's so good. Alrighty, coming up at number 7 on my movie playlist of my life, I don't know why I keep doing this, like I'm looking off in the distance, is Final Fantasy VII Advent Child. So this is a movie based on the Final Fantasy VII video games, which is another game that my sister and my cousins and I really, really bonded with. My favorite Final Fantasy games are 7, 8, 9, and I like 11, and I think I like 12, but I think I like it because it's pretty to look at, but I don't really like playing it. But yeah, those are my favorites. But anyway, Final Fantasy VII has such an emotional connection for me, because it was a game that we all really bonded with. And remembering the way it used to look on the PlayStation, just the PlayStation, is so fun, because they were like little blobby characters, and they didn't have voices. It was just like talk boxes. And so seeing it now, Final Fantasy Remastered, is so crazy for me, because I remember what it used to look like. Oh, and I also like Final Fantasy, what is it? Final Fantasy VII, it's the one with Zack. I can't remember it, and that makes me so sad, but it's one of my favorites. And Dirge Cerberus. Anyway, but I just remember the graphics of it all, just for PlayStation, and thinking it was so cool. I remember thinking it was so cool. And then nowadays, if me in the past were to see how video games look nowadays, I would think it was some kind of wizardry, because it is so cool. But watching a movie with these characters that used to just be blocky, pixely, blobby things is so cool. It's so fun hearing Cloud talk, or hearing Sephiroth talk, or hearing Vincent Valentine talk, and Yuffie, or yeah, and not Yuffie, yeah, oh my gosh, and just all the people, just hearing them all talk. I can't really think right now, but like hearing Zack talk, and just, it's so hard to explain, but it makes my heart feel so happy. And I remember when this movie was going to come out, and I remember we were all so excited. And they came out with 2 editions. They came out with just the normal edition, and they came out with the special edition. The special edition has like the blood in it and stuff, but the first one before the special edition didn't have blood in it. Which honestly, to me, it doesn't make a difference. I don't know why it matters if there's blood, but like, if it matters to you in sword fights, I don't know. But I love hearing the music, and I love seeing
the Buster Blade, and I love just everything about it because it takes a childhood nostalgic thing and just blows your mind with how cool it, like just like when you love something so much and you get to see this visualization of it, it's amazing. And I have it here, which is this, but it's just, I love this movie so much. This has such deep love and adoration because of that emotional connection and just all the memories of sitting on. So my cousins and my sister and I used to do this thing where we would call it double gaming, where basically what we would do is we would bring our TVs from our rooms and our PlayStations, and we would like set up all together and play it together, but really we were just all in the same room. And I just, those memories of just playing games and sitting together and just having those emotional connections, and just, I don't know, but Final Fantasy VII definitely just is so important to my childhood because I just remember spending so much of my time playing it. And it's so hard to explain, but it's definitely, it has to be on this list of the movie playlist of my life. Sorry, I keep getting cut off because I apparently don't know how to delete things. So, yeah. Anyway, the last movie coming in at number 8 is Titan AE, which is an amazing animated movie. This is another movie that I grew up with but completely forgot about until I found it once at a place called Entertain Mart, which it used to be called Hastings, but I don't know. But anyway, so it is about a kid who basically, Earth has been destroyed by aliens, and so everybody's scattered throughout space, and everybody's trying to find this ship that has all of the DNA and everything within it to build a new Earth, and this kid is the only person that can find it because his dad was the one that flew it away. And I love the aliens in it because they're like electricity, which I think is so freaking cool. And of course it's a love story, and I think it's like, I think it's Matt Damon and Drew Barrymore. I could be wrong. I know it's Drew Barrymore. I'm not sure if it's Matt Damon. But it's beautiful. It's really beautiful animation, and I love the story and the acting, and it's just one of those movies that sticks in my brain and I randomly think about, like, and just get visions of. To me, it's kind of a short movie though, so like every time I put it in, I swear 45 minutes later it's done. So I think it's a short movie, but I have it here. This is Titan AE. But oh my gosh, it's within the year 3028, which is kind of far from now, so we'll see what happens. But it's definitely a movie that has just created this weird sci-fi space in my memory, because I remember there was a time watching, like, when I used to watch television, where I would wake up randomly in the middle of the night and this would be playing, and I remember seeing the electricity aliens, and it would freak me out because I was like, what the hell is that? And watching this with my sister, and it to me it has very much of kind of like a video game energy, kind of a very video game animation kind of energy that a lot of animated movies, especially sci-fi ones, don't have. And on this, it says, "This is the movie Star Wars fans have been waiting for," which I doubt. But, I mean, I prefer this over Star Wars because I don't like Star Wars. But I think this is really just a very cute, very fun, entertaining movie. Especially if you just want a nice, entertaining, animated sci-fi movie, this is very good. So if you can find it and watch it, I would watch this because it's very cute and very good. That is a list of the movies that I'm calling the movie playlist of my life. These are movies that have definitely stuck out in my mind and have really built up my childhood. I have memories for every single movie that I mentioned, and I honestly didn't realize some of the memories and emotions that some of these movies have until I was actually just talking about them, which is really cool. And if you have a movie playlist of your life, I'd really love to hear it. I'm probably definitely gonna have to do a part 2, because there are definitely movies that I didn't mention. I don't know, maybe I'll do subcategories, like, you know, horror movie playlist of my life, or romantic comedy, or musicals, stuff like that. But I really love movies because they tell stories, but you can also have moments with them where it's like you can remember, like, this is the first time I ever watched this movie, or this is, you know, when you listen to the soundtrack of the movie, the way that it made you feel, and it reminds you of a scene, or something like that. I think movies are really beautiful. And what's really sad about 2020 is that we didn't really get very many movies because of the pandemic, of course. So we didn't really have the ability to. And I have honestly gone to the movie theater a couple of times, and it's usually late at night when there's nobody there. And I've been sitting in the theater alone, and I really miss going to the movie theater and feeling the excitement of seeing a new movie that you were looking forward to, and getting the popcorn and the drink, and having to run out of the theater to go pee in the middle of a supposedly boring movie, and telling whoever you went with to tell you what happens. And just, I love the act. I don't love, like, you know, the people talking, and, you know, the hearing the rappers moving around and the chewing, but I just love the energy of going to the movies. And I don't know, it's an experience, you know? It's a huge experience, because I've had people ask me, why would you rather go to the movies when you could just sit in your living room and watch it? And it's because it's an experience of seeing this movie that you've been looking forward to for a really long time on the big screen, and just having the popcorn and the terrible seat that makes you feel like your legs are going to fall off when you stand up. It's an experience, and I really do miss it, and I really do hope that it'll happen again. Probably not in the near future, but hopefully in the future, when things hopefully get better. Things are definitely going to be different, but I hope that maybe for the better they'll be different, and hopefully we all won't be so on edge and waiting for the next shoe to drop, because we've already had a lot of shit happen in 2021, and it's only, like, what, the second week of January? So I'm cautiously hoping that this is the only crazy thing that happens this year, but I don't know. Everybody thought that 2020 was going to be their year because it was a new decade. So I feel like we're all being cautiously optimistic, and cautiously hopeful, but preparing for the potential, which I think is good. I think it's a really good thing to cautiously prepare for the negative, because that way, if it happens, you're prepared, but be optimistic towards the positive. But I would really like to hear about your favorite movies and what you like to watch, and if there's anything that you found during quarantine that you really enjoyed, or if you've seen any of the movies that I described. And if you have any memories with the movies that I also brought up, that would be really fun to see and to read about. I love when I get comments on my videos. I really do. The ones that I get the comments on the most are, like, the urban legends ones, and I love that. I love that people comment, and I love that people like to tell me their stories, because it's so cool. It is so cool. And I do plan on starting to do that again. I do. I actually have one planned. And I do want to do a, you know, music playlist of my life, and I don't know, maybe a TV show playlist of my life, because I've got a lot of those. So, I don't know. We'll see what the future holds. I don't want to put too much pressure on myself, because there's a lot happening in life right now, and the last thing anybody needs to do is to put themselves in a position that makes them unhappy or makes it worse. We're all just trying to get through this together, and so the most we can do is just
not just be there for each other, but also don't forget to be there for yourself, because, you know, you have you all the time. You're your strongest champion. So, yeah. Anyway, I don't know why this took a serious turn. But anyway, yeah. So, that was my movie playlist of my life, or part of my life. Not my entire life, because I'm 26 years old and definitely not my entire life. And I'd really like to do a part 2. I think it'd be really interesting to do a part 2. And I'm really glad I did this video. This was something that I actually was looking forward to. And that's good. That's a good thing. But it's currently, I think, about maybe 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and I still need to shower and take this terrible makeup off of my face. So I'm going to go. So thank you for joining me in this video. If you liked it, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see a part 2, I guess, let me know. But I'll probably make it anyway. If you want to subscribe, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and you can be notified whenever I post. I try to do videos on Mondays, but, you know, obviously I've been falling short. And as I said, I don't want to put too much pressure on myself, so if I don't put one out on Monday, it's probably because a lot of stuff's been going on, and I don't want to push myself too far, I guess. Even though these videos definitely don't take much effort, because I don't know if you've noticed, but it's not great over here. But anyway, thank you for joining me in this video, and I hope you have a wonderful day and a beautiful night. And this is Kat signing off. Bye, guys.